The space station hung in the darkness at the edge of human territory, a lonely structure orbiting a small, icy planet in the outer rim. Stars glittered beyond the station's viewports, cold and distant, but inside the lights hummed steadily, and the air was warm and alive with the quiet bustle of human life. Captain Elias Vorn moved through the corridors with careful steps, his boots making a soft echo against the metal floor. He was a tall man with sharp features, eyes that had seen too many systems and too many empty worlds. He liked order, but today something made his heart beat faster than usual. The warning came through the station's communication array, but it was not like any normal distress call. It was a simple broadcast repeated over and over, distorted but clear. Run. Elias stopped at the console, staring at the screen that displayed the signal waves. The transmission was coming from deep in the outer rim, a sector long abandoned by human exploration. Run, it said again, the letters flickering on the readout. Captain, are you seeing this? Lieutenant Mara Chen's voice came over the intercom. She was the station's communications officer, and her usual calm tone had a hint of unease. Yes, I see it, Elias replied. Where is it coming from? The outer rim, Mara answered. Beyond the sector we map. It's unusual. The signal is unstable, almost as if something is trying to scramble it. Elias frowned. Scramble or warn? That is the question. Mara's brow furrowed. It's only one word, that's very strange. Exactly, Elias said. One word can mean a lot when it's meant for survival. He paused, thinking. We need to know what is out there. Prepare the research shuttle. We leave in 1 hour. Mara's hesitation was brief but visible. Captain, this could be dangerous. The outer rim is uncharted. No one goes there for a reason. Elias turned to her, his expression firm. Danger is part of exploration, Lieutenant. If someone is sending a warning, it is our duty to find out why. By the time the shuttle was ready, the crew assembled. Alongside Elias and Mara were 2 more specialists. Dr. Kellen Rowe, a biologist fascinated by alien life, and pilot Juno Tark, known for her calm nerves in impossible situations. They checked their equipment, reviewed the shuttle systems, and double-checked their course. None of them spoke much, but the tension in the cabin was like static electricity, thrumming quietly in the air. As the shuttle detached from the station, the outer rim stretched before them like an endless void, black and empty except for scattered debris and distant stars. The signal continued, repeating its single word, a chilling echo in their minds. Run. Do you think it's a trap? Kellen asked, voice low. She was young, but her curiosity often overpowered fear. It could be, Elias admitted, but it could also be a warning. If someone or something is in danger, it's our responsibility to know. The journey was long. Days passed in silence, broken only by the occasional beep of sensors and the whisper of the shuttle engines. The crew watched the monitors, tracking the signal, which seemed to flicker and fade with the distance. Sometimes it disappeared entirely, then returned stronger than before. One night, as they crossed an empty sector, Juno called out. Captain, you need to see this. Elias walked to the pilot station. On the display, a small derelict ship floated silently. Its hull was scorched, torn in places, and drifting without power. No lights, no markings, no sign of life. The outer rim had its secrets, but this one looked like a warning made real. Elias felt a chill. Boarding. Juno shook her head. Too risky. I can't get close without knowing what happened. Kellen stepped forward, her eyes shining. We have to. There could be survivors or something to learn. If this is connected to the signal, it's our chance to understand. Elias weighed the decision carefully. He knew the outer rim had swallowed ships before. He also knew that curiosity had always been the spark of human survival and progress. We board, he said, but we do it cautiously. No unnecessary risk. Mara, record everything. Juno, stay ready to retreat if we see danger. The airlock hissed as they moved into the abandoned ship. It was silent except for the soft hum of the shuttle systems in the background. The ship's interior was dark, lit only by the emergency lights flickering sporadically. Walls were scorched and broken equipment floated in zero gravity. Kellen's breath caught. It's been abandoned. For a long time. But it's recent enough that something went terribly wrong. They moved slowly, checking each compartment. No signs of life, no footprints, no messages. Only the echo of the outer rim's emptiness. Then in the command center they found it. A single console still flickering. A recording played automatically. a voice distorted and frantic. "Run!" The sound sent shivers through the crew. It was human, definitely human, but the terror behind it was unmistakable. Elias turned to his team. "This wasn't a warning. It's a plea. Someone tried to survive and couldn't." Mara swallowed hard. "Captain, what did they face?" Elias shook his head. "We don't know yet, but whatever it is, it's still out there." As they left the ship, the crew couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Sensors showed nothing unusual, but a strange static seemed to cling to the shuttle, an invisible presence lurking just beyond detection. Back on their ship, Elias reviewed the data they had collected. Wreckage patterns suggested a predator or force of immense power. The fact that the word "run" had been sent repeatedly meant that whoever, or whatever, had caused the destruction wanted any survivor to flee. Kellen studied the readings, her brow furrowed. "This is unlike anything recorded before. The energy signatures. They're alive, almost intelligent. It adapts, reacts. That's why the derelict ship was destroyed so completely." Elias felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Humanity had never faced something like this in the Outer Rim. This was beyond pirates, beyond rogue AI, beyond meteor storms. This was a force that could destroy without warning and could think faster than any weapon they had. "Prepare the navigation logs," Elias said. "We're going deeper. If this signal is still active, we have to find the source. We need answers, and we need to know what humanity is dealing with." The shuttle continued its journey, stars slipping past in silent streaks. The Outer Rim was dark and empty, but the signal pulsed like a heartbeat, a constant reminder that someone or something was warning them. "Run." Elias stared out at the void. He felt a mix of fear, excitement, and determination. Humanity had always survived in impossible circumstances, and he would not let fear stop him now. Whatever waited in the darkness, he would face it with his crew. As they approached the coordinates where the signal was strongest, the Outer Rim seemed to stretch endlessly. A faint shape appeared on sensors, a large structure, massive and alien, half hidden in the shadows of a gas giant. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, with jagged surfaces and strange glowing patterns. "Captain," Juno whispered. That's what's sending the signal." Elias nodded, eyes narrowing. "We go carefully. This is just the beginning. Whatever destroyed that ship, whatever cried out 'run,' it's waiting for us, and humanity will meet it, not with fear, but with courage." The shuttle descended toward the alien structure, engines humming softly against the darkness. Inside, the signal pulsed stronger now, as if the structure itself was alive. The word "run" echoed in their minds one last time before the silence fell. A warning, a challenge, and the spark of a human story that was only just beginning. The shuttle glided silently toward the massive alien structure, its sleek metal body reflecting the dim light from the gas giant below. The crew's eyes were fixed on the readings, which flickered nervously on the monitors. The signal, still repeating that single word, "run," had grown stronger, almost as if it were alive, pulsing through the sensors like a heartbeat. "Captain, the structure is enormous," Juno said, her voice calm but tense. "It doesn't match anything in our databases. No known species could build something like this." Elias nodded. "That's why we're here. We need to find out what it is and why it's sending the warning. Mara, keep recording everything. Kellen, stay close. We don't know what might be inside." The shuttle passed through the outer layers of the structure. Strange geometrical shapes jutted into space, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Some surfaces appeared organic, almost like they were growing instead of built. The patterns shifted subtly, as if the structure itself was aware of their presence. Kellen leaned forward, examining the readings. "The energy signatures, they're unusual. Not just alive, they're intelligent. The structure reacts to us. Everything we do, it watches and adapts." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we move carefully. No sudden actions. We're explorers, not invaders." As they neared an entrance large enough for the shuttle, the ship's sensors began to flicker and spike. Mara's fingers flew over the console. "Captain, I'm picking up movement inside the structure. Not mechanical, not ships. Something else. It's fast, unpredictable, and intelligent." Elias felt a chill. "Keep us steady. We don't know if it's hostile, but we assume it is. Prepare the boarding team." The shuttle docked with a section of the structure that resembled a docking bay. The airlock opened with a hiss, revealing a vast chamber inside. The walls pulsed faintly like veins carrying light. Shadows stretched in odd directions, and the silence was deep and heavy. The crew floated in zero gravity, tethered to the shuttle. Kellen's eyes widened. "Captain, it's not just a building. It's a living entity. This place thinks. It responds to our presence." Elias's voice was steady. "Then we proceed slowly. Observe, don't disturb, and stay together. Let's find the source of the broadcast." They moved down a long corridor, the walls shifting subtly as though the structure itself were breathing. Strange symbols glowed faintly, and occasional sparks of energy danced across the surfaces. The shuttle's lights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to move independently. Mara's console beeped. "Captain, the broadcast. It's coming from deeper inside. The word run, it's repeated in cycles, but now it's layered. Multiple voices, all in distress." Elias swallowed hard. Previous human crews, they didn't make it. Whoever sent this was desperate. We must learn why. As they moved deeper, they found wreckage, small ships and escape pods, broken and twisted. The markings were human, similar to theirs, but scorched and broken. Each piece told a story of fear and failure. Kellen touched a piece of twisted metal. These ships didn't fail by accident. Something destroyed them quickly, efficiently. Whatever it is, it hunts and adapts. That's why the signal was sent. It's a warning from the past. Juno's voice was quiet but tense. "Captain, I'm seeing something on the thermal sensors. Movement inside the walls. It's fast, almost too fast to track." Elias nodded. "Then we stay alert. Keep visual contact and move in pairs. No one goes alone." They reached a central chamber, vast and high, with a strange energy field at the center. It pulsed like a heartbeat, sending ripples through the floor. Floating within the field were fragments of alien technology, devices that seemed to store information, but also to observe anyone who approached. Kellen gasped. This is a control core, but it's alive. It monitors everything. It's the brain of the structure." Elias studied the readings, and it's intelligent enough to send a warning. Run. That means it has seen danger before. Danger we may now face ourselves. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently. A shadow moved across the chamber faster than anything human, and the air seemed to vibrate with energy. "The sensors went wild. Get back," Elias shouted, pulling Kellen and Mara toward the shuttle. Juno reacted instantly, firing a pulse from the shuttle's external systems. The shadow vanished, leaving a residue of strange energy in its wake. Sensors showed it moving through the walls like liquid metal or living light. "Captain, it's watching us," Mara whispered. "I think it learns from everything we do." Elias's mind raced. Humanity had faced threats before. Aliens, rogue AI, natural disasters. But this was different. It was smart, fast, and unseen. The Outer Rim had always been a dangerous place, but now they were in something alive, something that could outthink them. He turned to Kellen. "We need to gather information quickly. We can't fight it head-on, it's too powerful. But maybe we can outsmart it." Kellen nodded. "The data in the fragments. It might show us its weaknesses. If we understand how it thinks, we might survive." Elias directed the team to split into small groups, tethered and carefully moving toward the fragments. Each piece contained symbols and recordings, some alien, some human. They deciphered parts slowly, noting patterns in the energy pulses. "The creature, if we can call it that, reacts to fear and movement," Kellen explained. "It tracks energy and interprets intent. It adapts quickly, but I think it has limits. Its awareness is strongest near the core. Further away, it can't process as much," Elias nodded. "Then we work carefully. Take the data we need and retreat before it fully reacts. Humanity survives through intelligence, not just strength. That's what we must use." Hours passed, and the crew gathered as much information as they could. The fragments revealed the fate of previous crews: destruction, panic, and a final plea. The broadcast run had been repeated endlessly by those who failed, hoping someone would survive. As they prepared to leave, the structure seemed to respond. Walls shifted, passages closed, and the pulsing energy intensified. The shadow appeared again, faster and closer this time, moving with deliberate intelligence. "Back to the shuttle. Now!" Elias commanded. They rushed through the corridors, the shadow moving behind them like a predator. The shuttle docked, and Juno fired pulses to block the pursuit. The structure seemed to resist, closing passages and sending energy waves that pushed against the shuttle. Inside, the crew caught their breath. The shuttle's sensors were damaged and the readings showed the shadow continuing to follow them, even outside the structure. Elias's hands tightened on the console. It's learning from us. We can't fight it directly. We need a plan, human ingenuity. That is our only advantage, Kellen shivered. Captain, the data we gathered, it's incredible. We can learn how it thinks, how it adapts. If we study it, we might survive and warn the rest of humanity. But we need time. Time it might not give us. Elias looked out at the darkness of the outer rim. The signal had stopped briefly, but he knew it would return, stronger and more urgent. Run. The word echoed in his mind, a warning from the past and a challenge for the future. We go back to the station, Elias said. We prepare. We analyze the data. And we learn. Humanity survives because we think, because we adapt, because we refuse to run blindly. We will not fail where others have. The shuttle turned away from the alien structure, leaving the outer rim behind, but the feeling of being watched did not leave them. Every flicker on the monitor, every shadow beyond the viewport reminded them of the creature's presence. It was out there, intelligent and patient, waiting for the next move. But Elias Vorn and his crew were human, and humans, he thought, always found a way to survive. The shuttle raced through the dark void of the outer rim, its engines humming steadily. Inside, the crew was tense. The alien structure they had just escaped from lingered on the sensors, a silent, ominous silhouette against the distant stars. Even though they were moving away, the feeling of being watched remained, an invisible presence pressing against the edges of their minds. Captain Elias Vorn sat at the console, staring at the readings. It's following us, he said quietly. I can feel it. Every system shows fluctuations, as if the structure is alive and aware of our departure. Mara Chen, monitoring the communications, frowned. The broadcast has changed. It's not just run anymore. There are fragments of voices, human and alien. They seem panicked, almost screaming. It's as if the structure is repeating their last messages. Elias rubbed his eyes. A warning from the past. It's trying to tell us something. But what? Kellen Rowe, the biologist, pointed at the sensor screen. Captain, look at these energy signatures. They're not just random. The shadow we saw inside the structure, it's spreading. It moves like liquid through space, infiltrating systems, adapting to our shields. It's alive in a way we've never seen before. Juno Tark's hands tightened on the controls. So whatever destroyed those ships is still out there. And it can follow us anywhere. Elias's jaw tightened. Exactly. We need to understand it before it understands us completely. We can't outrun it forever, but we can outthink it. The shuttle navigated through a debris field of shattered moons and asteroid fragments. Sensors picked up pieces of long-abandoned stations and wreckage from unknown ships, floating silently. Each object seemed insignificant on its own, but together they painted a story of destruction. Kellen studied the readings, her eyes wide. This area, it's a hunting ground. Whatever that thing is, it doesn't just destroy. It studies its prey, learns from them, and adapts. That's why the previous crews failed. Elias nodded grimly. Then we have to be smarter. We can't fight it with weapons. We fight with strategy, with planning, with our brains. That's what makes humans strong. Hours passed as the shuttle ventured deeper into the outer rim. The shadows of asteroids stretched across the viewport, and every passing object felt like a potential trap. The crew remained silent, tension pressing on them like gravity. Then a warning beep sounded. Sharp and urgent. Captain, we have movement ahead, Juno shouted. On the display, a massive energy surge raced toward them. It wasn't a ship, not a comet, but a living mass of alien energy, shifting and twisting as if it had no fixed form. Elias stood. Brace yourselves. It's attacking. The shuttle's shields flared as the entity struck, sending the ship spinning. Panels flickered, lights dimmed, and alarms screamed through the cabin. Mara struggled to stabilize communications while Kellen clutched the console, trying to track the energy patterns. Juno maneuvered the shuttle, weaving between asteroids to avoid the entity's strikes. It's fast. Too fast to predict. Elias gritted his teeth. Then we use its intelligence against it. Kellen, Mara, follow my lead. Watch its patterns. Learn from its movements. That's our only chance. The entity pulsed again, striking with precision. The shuttle rocked violently, but the crew remained focused. They noticed that it reacted strongest when they panicked or made sudden movements. Calm, deliberate actions seemed to confuse it temporarily. I see it, Kellen shouted. It's responding to fear and unpredictability. If we move steadily and coordinate, we can get past it. Elias nodded. Exactly. Human ingenuity, not brute force. We plan, we observe, and we act. That's what separates us from this predator. Carefully, the crew navigated through the asteroid field, using the floating debris as cover. The entity followed, but each time they moved with precision, it hesitated, flickering like a broken signal. Finally, they reached a clearing in space, a small system of frozen planets. Sensors detected something unusual on the largest moon, a network of alien machinery partially buried beneath ice. Elias realized this might be the entity's base, or at least a source of its power. We investigate, Elias said, but cautiously. No mistakes. We need to know what we're dealing with. The shuttle descended to the moon's surface. Ice crunched under the landing struts and the alien machinery rose from the frozen ground like jagged towers. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the surfaces, and a low hum vibrated through the shuttle. Kellen floated toward the largest structure, her gloves brushing against the icy metal. It's alive. Not in the same way as an animal, but aware. It reacts to us. Elias studied the patterns. Then we proceed carefully. Observe, record, and retreat if needed. We need information, not confrontation. They explored the surface, discovering broken human probes and small exploration drones, all destroyed in patterns that suggested intelligence and strategy. The entity wasn't just powerful, it was patient, calculating, and relentless. Suddenly, a pulse of energy erupted from the ground. The shuttle rocked violently and alarms screamed. The entity had noticed them. Get back to the shuttle, now, Elias shouted. They ran, tethered to the craft, but the entity moved faster than expected. Shadows flickered across the ice and strange energy tendrils lashed out, smashing instruments and sending debris flying. Mara worked frantically to stabilize the shuttle, while Juno fired pulses to create temporary barriers. Elias's mind raced. Humanity had faced threats before, but never one like this. It was intelligent, adaptive, and relentless. But humans had something else, creativity. Thinking on the fly, improvising, and working together. That was their edge. Using the environment, Elias directed the shuttle behind jagged ice formations. The entity struck again, smashing the ground where the ship had been moments before. But the crew remained calm, moving strategically, staying one step ahead. Finally, they reached the shuttle. Kellen clutched a small data module she had retrieved from the alien machinery. This might help us. It contains fragments of the entity's structure, maybe even clues to how it thinks. Elias nodded. Good work. Let's get out of here and study this. Humanity survives because we adapt. We survive because we use our brains. This, whatever it is, it underestimates us. The shuttle lifted off, weaving through the icy towers. The entity followed, pulsating with rage and intelligence, but the crew stayed calm and deliberate. Every maneuver, every calculation was precise. Slowly, the distance grew between them and the entity. Once clear of the moon, Elias finally allowed himself a moment of relief. We survived. But this is just the beginning. The entity is strong, smart, and patient. We need to understand it fully if humanity is to survive in the outer rim. Kellen nodded, examining the data module. The fragments might show how it processes information, how it adapts. If we study this carefully, we can predict its behavior. Mara recorded all readings and observations. Captain, the broadcast. It's fading again. But I'm sure it will return. The word run. It's a warning, yes, but also a signal. It wants us to know something important. Elias's eyes were sharp. Then we listen, we learn, and we prepare. Humanity has faced impossible odds before, and we've survived. This entity will not defeat us so easily. We have something it doesn't. Ingenuity, courage, and the will to survive. Juno piloted the shuttle toward open space, leaving the outer rim's frozen moon behind. But the shadow on the sensors remained, distant but persistent, a reminder that the threat was still out there. Elias looked at his crew, each one tired but determined. This fight isn't just about survival. It's about understanding. We can't defeat it with weapons, but we can defeat it with intelligence. That is human strength. That is why we endure. The shuttle continued its journey deeper into the outer rim, carrying humans and their courage, their determination, and their hope. And somewhere in the darkness the entity waited, learning, calculating, and preparing for its next move. But humanity, Elias knew, never ran blindly. The shuttle glided silently through the void, the vast darkness of the outer rim stretching endlessly on all sides. The crew's nerves were taut, each of them aware that the alien entity they had encountered was still out there, tracking, learning, and adapting. The word run haunted their minds, not as a command but as a reminder of what awaited any who failed to survive. Captain Elias Vorn sat in the command seat, eyes scanning the displays. "We can't outrun it forever," he said, "but we can outthink it. That's what humans do best. We adapt, we plan, and we survive." Kellen Rowe leaned over her console, examining the data module she had retrieved from the alien moon. "The fragments give us clues. The entity reacts strongest to sudden movement, noise, and fear. It adapts to attacks quickly, but it has limits. Its awareness drops in areas of interference or confusion. That's our advantage," Mara Chen nodded. "So we can create a strategy, use the environment and technology to slow it down. We can't fight it directly, but we can outsmart it." Juno Tark, her hands steady on the controls, said, "Then we make it chase ghosts. If it adapts to us, we give it false patterns. We control the fight even from a distance." Elias smiled faintly. "Exactly. We survive not because we are stronger, but because we are smarter. That's humanity's edge." They set their plan into motion. Using debris fields, abandoned satellites, and asteroid belts, the crew created a maze through which the entity had to navigate. Sensors and energy pulses were deployed as decoys, forcing the creature to react to false targets while the shuttle moved in calculated patterns. The entity appeared again on the sensors, a living blur of energy and shadows. It moved faster than anything the humans had ever encountered, striking at every sensor and decoy. But each time it reacted predictably, following patterns they had created intentionally. Kellen observed the readings. "It's learning, but it's overcompensating. It thinks the decoys are us. That gives us openings to gather more data, and maybe even strike at its structure indirectly." Elias nodded. "Good, Juno, keep us on course." "Mara, record everything. Kellen, keep analyzing its behavior. Every detail matters. Every movement it makes is a lesson for us." Hours passed in tense observation. The crew's careful planning paid off as the entity grew frustrated, striking at empty space and debris, wasting energy and revealing vulnerabilities. The patterns in its attacks showed predictable reactions to interference, hesitation in complex terrain, and sensitivity to high-frequency energy pulses. "Captain," Kellen said, pointing at the readings, "look at this. Its response time slows in areas with high energy interference. If we can create a large enough field, we can trap it temporarily, or at least control its movements." Elias's mind raced. "Then we create a trap. Not to destroy it. We may not be able to, but to contain it long enough to study it, understand it, and perhaps send a warning to the rest of humanity." They began assembling their improvised system. Energy emitters from the shuttle were reconfigured, and satellites in orbit were used to amplify interference fields. Kellen modified a series of drones to act as lures, creating a network of false targets. Mara coordinated the operation, making sure every system was synchronized. Finally, everything was ready. The shuttle approached an open field in the asteroid belt, where the entity could be drawn into the trap. Elias gave the order. "Activate the interference field." A pulse of energy radiated outward, and the entity appeared almost instantly, moving toward the source. It struck, reacting aggressively, but the interference confused its senses. It struck empty space, chased the drones, and then hesitated, trapped in the network they had built. "Now," Elias said, "gather data. Every reading, every pulse, every reaction counts." Kellen's fingers flew over the console. "I'm getting information on its energy structure, neural patterns, and adaptive algorithms. It's learning from everything we do, but this interference is slowing it down just enough for us to observe." Mara recorded everything, while Juno kept the shuttle steady, weaving carefully to avoid stray energy strikes. The entity pulsed violently, sending waves through space, but it could not escape the trap entirely. Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe. "This is what humans do best. We face the impossible and we find a way. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we work together. This creature may be intelligent, but it underestimates us." Suddenly, a surge of energy hit the shuttle directly. Alarm screamed as panels short-circuited. Juno struggled to maintain control. "Captain, it's breaking through the interference." Mara shouted, Elias's eyes sharpened. "Not entirely." Kellen, adjust the frequency. Push it higher. We need to regain control of the trap. Kellen worked quickly, modifying the drones and emitters. The entity pulsed violently, lashing out at the drones, but the interference grew stronger. Its movement became erratic, and readings showed its energy structure was destabilizing temporarily. Elias seized the moment. Deploy the capture drones, surrounded in a containment net. The shuttle's systems launched the drones, which unfolded into a lattice of energy. The entity struggled, pulsing against the net, but it held. For the first time, the humans had partially contained the alien intelligence. Breathing heavily, Elias spoke. We've done it. We haven't destroyed it, but we've controlled it. That gives us the advantage. Humanity survives because we can turn danger into knowledge. Kellen nodded, studying the readings. We can learn from this. Its weaknesses, its adaptive limits, all of it. If we understand it, we can predict its actions and protect others. Mara recorded the entire sequence. Captain, this is invaluable. If we can send it to Earth and the colonies, humanity will have a fighting chance. We can prepare for anything like this in the future. Juno, still piloting carefully, glanced at the entity struggling in the containment field. It's powerful. I've never seen anything like it. But we made it hesitate. We made it respond to our plan, not the other way around. Elias's eyes softened. That's the difference between humans and everything else in this universe. We survive by thinking, by working together, by adapting faster than any predator. This entity is strong, but it hasn't faced humanity at its best before. The crew spent hours studying the contained entity, recording every reaction and movement. Each pattern revealed more about its intelligence, its adaptability, and its vulnerabilities. For the first time, they felt a sense of hope. Humanity had a chance, but Elias knew the danger was far from over. The entity was patient. It had survived countless crews and learned from every encounter. Their victory was temporary, a window of opportunity to gather knowledge before the predator adapted once again. We leave soon, Elias said. We've learned enough for now. The interference field won't hold forever, but the data we have, it will change everything. Humanity survives because we think. That's our greatest weapon. As the shuttle prepared to depart, the entity pulsed violently one last time. Shadows flickered across the containment net, a reminder that it was not defeated. It was observing, learning, and preparing for the next encounter. Elias looked at his crew, each one exhausted but resolute. This is what makes us human. Courage, ingenuity, and teamwork. We may not be the strongest, but we are clever, and we adapt. That is why we endure. That is why humanity survives. The shuttle lifted off, carrying the crew and their invaluable data. The outer rim stretched endlessly around them, dark and dangerous, but filled with opportunities for those brave enough to face it. And somewhere in the distance, the alien entity watched, pulsing with intelligence, waiting for the next move. But humanity had learned. Humans would not run blindly. Humans would survive, adapt, and triumph. The shuttle drifted in the vast emptiness of the outer rim, carrying Captain Elias Vorn and his crew, exhausted but alive. The alien entity they had faced, intelligent, adaptive, and relentless, remained contained temporarily by the interference field. The data Kellen Rowe had collected pulsed across the consoles, full of information about the creature's patterns, vulnerabilities, and strange energy structure. Humanity now had a chance to understand, to survive, and to prepare. Elias sat at the command console, his eyes scanning the sensors. The containment field would not hold indefinitely. The entity's energy fluctuated violently, as if it were testing its limits. Each pulse it sent into space felt like a warning. It was patient, but it was also learning. We need to move carefully, Elias said. Juno, chart a course that keeps us near debris and asteroids. Use the environment to confuse it while we retreat. Mara, keep recording every signal. Kellen, monitor the entity's responses to our maneuvers. We need data and distance. Juno's hands moved swiftly over the controls. Understood. The field is stable enough for a slow exit, but if it breaks, we'll need evasive action immediately. The shuttle began its slow journey back through the asteroid field. Shadows of broken moons and frozen debris flickered past the viewport. The entity pulsed violently, following their trail, and every flicker on the sensors reminded them of its intelligence and persistence. Kellen studied the readings. Captain, its reaction time is slower when we use the environment strategically. It anticipates our moves, but the interference and debris make it hesitate. That gives us small windows to escape. Elias nodded. Then we take those windows. Humanity survives because we adapt faster than any threat. This entity has never faced humans like us before. Hours passed in tense silence. The crew worked in perfect coordination, using the environment to create false paths and decoy signals. Each movement was deliberate, calculated to confuse the entity. And slowly, the distance between the shuttle and the alien force grew. Suddenly, Mara called out, "Captain! Incoming energy surge! It's adapting to our maneuvers." It knows the pattern. Elias's hands tightened on the console. "Juno, full evasive." Kellen, adjust the interference field. We need it confused again. The shuttle twisted and turned through the asteroid field, using every obstacle to shield them from the entity's attacks. Energy pulses collided with asteroids, shattering ice and rock into clouds of debris. The entity pulsed violently, but it could not reach the shuttle directly. "Captain, I think we can shake it completely," Kellen said. "If we draw it through this unstable asteroid cluster, the collisions will disrupt its energy network temporarily." Elias nodded. "Do it, every second counts. Humanity survives because we act boldly and think clearly." Juno piloted the shuttle carefully, drawing the entity into the cluster. Collisions of floating rocks and frozen debris sent the alien pulses into chaotic feedback loops. For a moment, the entity faltered, its shape flickering and distorting. The shuttle moved through the chaos, narrowly avoiding collisions, but Elias's heart raced with exhilaration and fear. Finally, the path cleared. The shuttle emerged from the cluster, and the sensors showed the entity struggling to recover. Its energy pulses became erratic, giving the humans precious breathing room. "Captain," Mara said, her voice trembling with relief, "we've gained distance. It's disoriented temporarily." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Good, but we're not safe yet. We use this time to reach open space and send the data back. Humanity needs to know what's out here." The shuttle set a course toward a communication relay station near the edge of the outer rim. The entity followed at a distance, adapting, but the crew's precise strategy and improvisation kept them ahead. As they approached the relay, Elias prepared the transmission. "Mara, send the data. Kellen, make sure the analysis is complete. Humanity must have every detail of this creature, its behavior, weaknesses, and potential threats. We can't let others fall into the same trap." Mara's fingers flew over the console, sending the vast dataset to Earth and nearby colonies. Light years away, scientists and leaders would receive the information that could change the course of humanity's survival in the galaxy. Kellen added, "Captain, this data, it's invaluable. We've recorded everything. Its reactions, adaptive patterns, energy structure, and even its learning algorithms. Humanity now has a fighting chance." Elias nodded. "Good work. This is what humans do best: adapt, think, and survive. That is our legacy. That is why humanity endures." But even as they celebrated their temporary victory, the sensors picked up a surge. The entity was not destroyed nor defeated. Its energy pulses stabilized, and a single massive wave of power radiated through space like a warning flare. It had learned something from the human strategy, and now it was preparing for its next move. Elias's jaw tightened. "It's patient. It will not give up. But neither will we. Humanity survives because we face the impossible, learn, and adapt. That is our greatest strength." Juno spoke quietly, her eyes on the sensors. "Captain, it's retreating for now, but it's studying us. It will return, smarter and faster." Elias looked out the viewport at the vast darkness of the outer rim. "Then we prepare. We learn, we survive. That is what humans do. And no entity, no matter how powerful or intelligent, can outmatch human ingenuity and courage." The shuttle continued its journey toward the relay station, carrying the crew, the data, and the hope of humanity. Every calculation, every maneuver, every moment of teamwork had made the difference between survival and destruction. Kellen turned to Elias. "Captain, we may have survived, but this is only the beginning. The entity will adapt. We must continue studying it, preparing for future encounters. Humanity must be ready." Elias nodded firmly. "Exactly. But for now we've done what no one else could. We faced the unknown, survived, and brought knowledge back. That is humanity's strength. That is why we endure." As the shuttle approached the relay, Elias allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The Outer Rim had tested them, threatened them, and tried to destroy them. But humans were not prey. Humans were survivors. They thought, adapted, and overcame. Captain Mara said softly, "The broadcast, it's silent now. No more run. Maybe it knows we understand." Elias smiled faintly. "Or maybe it's planning its next move. Either way, we are ready. Humanity survives because we do not run blindly. We face the unknown with courage, intelligence, and determination." The shuttle docked at the relay station. The crew transmitted the full data set to Earth, sending warnings, strategies, and insights that would allow humanity to protect itself from similar threats in the Outer Rim. For the first time, humans would have the knowledge to prepare to survive and to thrive. Elias stood at the viewport looking out at the darkness. Somewhere in that void, the entity pulsed, alive and intelligent, learning from its encounter with humans. But he did not fear it. Humanity had survived the impossible before, and they would survive again. "The Outer Rim is full of dangers," Elias said quietly. "But humans endure. We survive, we adapt. We fight not with raw power, but with our minds, our courage, and our will. That is why humanity will always prevail." The crew stood together, tired but resolute. They had faced something beyond comprehension, something that had destroyed others before them, and they had survived. Not because they were stronger, but because they were clever, brave, and united. The shuttle departed the Outer Rim, carrying the first knowledge of the alien entity to humanity. The word "run" was no longer a warning, but a testament to human survival. It was a reminder that danger existed, but so did hope, courage, and ingenuity. Somewhere in the distance, the alien entity pulsed once more, observing, calculating, and learning. But humanity had learned as well. And as long as humans faced the unknown together, they would not fail. Elias looked at his crew and smiled. "We survived, and we will continue to survive. That is the legacy of humanity. And in the endless stars of the Outer Rim, humans shone as a force of courage, intelligence, and hope, a species that would endure, adapt, and triumph, no matter the dangers that awaited them."